Hey guys, welcome to Talkin Tech, the tech industry and gaming news show where I bring to you a little bit of the interesting items that have made a difference and impact on me and that I wish to share with the rest of you for the week here. So let's go ahead and get rolling right away with a little Diablo 3 news from my buddies at Blizzard. They are shelving the currently planned release of the deathmatch team play style PvP that they were planning on bringing to Diablo 3. This has been a little bit of a big draw since the game launched, and in subsequent small releases and news, it's been one of the larger watched items regarding this game, being that the gameplay itself is just a little bit lackluster. More people are still playing Diablo 2 than are currently involved in Diablo 3, if that tells you anything about what's going on there. They released this team deathmatch style. They gave a little bit of a glimpse of it at the last BlizzCon to much excitement. But the dev teams are not feeling that it's quite up to par with the standards they would like to bring to things. So they are going to go ahead and shelve that. They will be bringing in patch 1.0.7, the up and coming patch, hopefully released early this year 2013 here. They'll be bringing dueling in, so you will be able to have individual battles, but they haven't been able to find the proper balances to do the team style gameplay. It's kind of a common problem when you're playing mostly PvE focused games and you're trying to understand how to bridge that into PvP. They have a lot of issues with, they are specifically having a lot of issues right now with balancing stat weights on items, enchantments, things of that nature. How do they translate that into PvP stats so that things are balanced and a little more fair. You don't have one class that's able to just raffle stomp the others without having that be more on the player's skill side of things. So we'll continue to keep watching that. I'm going to bet that the way things are going and they're shaping up, there will be no actual team PvP in Diablo 3. As a PvP nerd, I really hope I am proven wrong though. In what I consider a very pleasant move, Intel has recently affirmed that they will in fact be sticking to modular socket types for all of their motherboards and processors. Or I shouldn't say all of, I should say the majority of. I reported earlier, as well as pretty much everybody else on the internet did, that there was a release from Intel saying they were switching to a BGA, that is a ball grid array, socket and processor type, where the processor and the motherboard will not work unless they are soldered together. That kind of creates a very, very permanent build. Not something I, as a PC build enthusiast, and the majority of PC build enthusiasts out there were enjoying hearing about. Intel has come back and said that this was not fully their intent, but the news release said that it was. The real question was, how far does it go? Is it going to be those run-of-the-mill packages sold at Best Buy and things of that nature that are going to be more affected? And in fact, that could be a positive spin for them, being that the PC builds could become cheaper on that side, since Intel is taking over the motherboard manufacturing for arrangements like that. So the question is, were they going to stick with that, or were they going to branch that into the do-it-yourself build, the enthusiast modular builders out there? Were they going to branch that off into that end of the spectrum as well, which limits options quite heavily on what they're able to do? And Intel did recently come out and say that they were not, in fact, going to switch that socket set and switch up to that SOS, that soldered on socket, or that BGA socket type, whatever you wish. They're not going to do that, but they are still pursuing the BGA for the set standard PC builds, and they are going to continue to release our LGA sockets to the rest of us. Now, there's been some questions that come into play regarding their current popular socket, the LGA 1155 versus the up-and-comer, the LGA 2011, as to what options there are going to be on those two socket types. And it looks like the LGA 1155, their current major processor out there being the i7 3770K, is going to be the last processor run, the last major processor run on that socket type. Whereas the 2011 is actually getting Sandy Bridge coming in, or I should say they have Sandy Bridge right now. They're getting an Ivy Bridge processor in the third quarter of this 2013. So there's a little bit of time left on that one as well before they start swapping things out even more heavily, as well as they are continuing to develop server processors for that 2011 socket. So if you are going to go ahead and start running through your own builds, I would tend to steer you away from the 1155 socket and into the 2011. The base processor prices being very, very comparable, and with better things yet to come over the next couple of years with that 2011 socket. I think there's a bright future ahead for those of us who want to continue building things that way. It was kind of nice to see Intel come out and actually state that this is what they were going to do. Did raise another question though, but I'll get to that in a second. They actually came out and stated that they were going to continue to run with the modular builds. As soon as AMD came out and kind of took advantage of those rumors a little bit, a lot of it, and said that they as a company were going to in fact stick with the modular build, and they recognized how important a sector of the market it was for people to be able to build their own PCs and choose not only their processor type but their motherboard type as well. Intel jumped on that to be able to say that for the foreseeable future, we are going to do this, that, and the other thing, and we're going to keep with the modular builds on all of our equipment. Foreseeable future is the question that comes into play, but again, like I said, they're continuing to develop server chips for the 2011 sockets, and will continue to develop server chips for the 2011 sockets. And the majority of the server chips are really high-end home PC build chips the way it is. So you've got a while on that socket set, and I don't foresee a reason they would quit developing their Ivy Bridge sockets for that 2011 set just in favor of doing server-specific set build. So again, if you go with the LGA 2011 socket set on the Intel motherboards, should you choose not to run with AMD, you've got room to grow for a little while, probably the next 3 to 5 years, unless you're one of those that really always has to have the best and fastest processor in your machine at all times, in which case I really don't know what to tell you. My crystal ball's at the tech shop for the week. I don't know what's going on. In the last little bit of tech news I've got for the week, Electronic Arts announced that they are retiring the online service of a great deal of their games. The base reason for that being in their official statement, and pardon me while I don't make eye contact with you as I'm going to read their statement, they say that as games get replaced with newer titles, the number of players still enjoying the older games dwindles to a level fewer than 1% of all peak online players across all EA titles. Basically, it doesn't make any sense for them financially to continue to support all of the older titles. There's a lot of IT work, server space, network space, things of that nature that have to be allocated to those titles in order to keep them functioning for online play. And just like with an Xbox 360 game, you get to a point where the newer titles are where everybody's playing online. And some of the older titles you're not going to ever find a PvP match for anymore, things of that nature, because there's nobody playing the game. So you're going to be basically stuck with the campaign mode or the season mode if you're a sports gamer, or something of that nature, versus having the online playability that you would ordinarily see. EA feels that they would better serve all of the newer games by reallocating all of those resources into hosting those newer games. A move that, makes perfect sense to me. So I will be posting a link to EA and a dated checklist of when they're taking certain games offline in the comments section down below. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, that's perfect. And we will see you all next time. Sorry, this show was a little shorter this week, but I am going to go and get back to honeymooning. So you all take care, and we'll see you next time.